Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 106 of the Orange Pill Investor. Today I'm going to talk about uh, just a little bit of prep for Monday MicroStrategy earnings call after the market closes, and then a little bit of Tesla back and forth drama, I guess. So I've got these two covered calls on MicroStrategy for tomorrow, the 1420 and the 1440. So there's almost nothing left in these bad boys. What, like $100 here, maybe $100 there, and $90 here. So most of this will be gone away or gone by expiration tomorrow. I'll go ahead and close these out for profit, I assume. And then normally I would roll and I would just put one for next week. And the day of earnings, I would take this off. But I'm like super paranoid that I got to take these off on Monday, and if I just get busy and sidetracked, I might leave them on. And I definitely do not want to have covered calls on MicroStrategy over earnings. If they do fair market value on their Bitcoin holdings now that they're allowed to, it could be a serious gap up. And it's not financial advice or whatever. This is just what I'm doing. Uh, and or nothing could happen because that everybody might know, like, okay, everybody knows MicroStrategy has a shitload of Bitcoin and they don't need to see it in the earnings report. Or maybe the expectation is that it will just be off the wall valuation, and if it's not as off the wall as people expect, maybe they'll be disappointed and MicroStrategy could go down. So just never know. But I think in general, I think MicroStrategy is going up, so I'm always going to bet on the surprise upside gap on an earnings report rather than a surprise down. That may not happen any of the time or even most of the time, but if my basic assumption is that MicroStrategy isn't going to go up more often than not, then why am I holding it? So I actually did already purchase 3 shares, anticipating that I was going to be selling covered calls and have some extra buying power. I forgot that I'm not going to hold this. So I'm actually not going to roll these tomorrow, and just to make sure that I don't forget on Monday. So it'll just be 2 days out of the market rather than 1 day out of the market. No big deal whatsoever. On Tuesday morning, whatever the price of MicroStrategy is, I will go ahead and load up some covered calls back on for next Friday. And then, so I've been posting about Tesla since their earnings was recently, and I got asked, have I read the 10K and do I understand it? And so I hadn't. So I went ahead and read it, and by read it I mean like I skimmed it. And so I don't really know that I understood half of it, but I'm not sure that it matters, because if you are buying a stock because you think it's going to be more valuable in the future, to me it's more about what you think will be in the 10K a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. And as far as I can tell, Tesla's won the decade. I don't care if up to now they have been a car company, but to say that they are just a car company in the present tense is ridiculous. So their solar energy is already ramping up, and actually I think it's their battery storage that did well this time, power walls and all of that jazz. But they're car companies don't just buy as many NVIDIA AI chips as they can produce. And one key thing that they said on the earnings call is that they are no longer constrained. I guess they didn't have as much computing power as they would have liked. So they've actually not even made as much progress as they would have liked up to this point. And they're finally at a point where they've got everything that they feel like they need. And the other thing that they let out of the bag was that they're in talks with a car manufacturer to license FSD. And it's not even approved yet. It's not even, but they're already in talks with someone. So they wouldn't be just negotiating already if they weren't extremely confident that they've got this problem licked and they'll be able to pass all of the regulatory hurdles and all of that jazz. And so not only is FSD so good that it's going to be able to be implemented on their Tesla vehicles, but they're like, oh yeah, if you put some cameras on your car and put our computer in it, you put our software in it, you too can enjoy full self-driving. So, good luck these other half-assed driverless vehicle programs that rely on GPS and maps and all kinds of crap. They don't have the miles driven that Tesla has. And anyway, just a car company is just one of those things that people say, and it just reminds me of the tired things that people still say about Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin has SEC approval. There's ETFs. Like institutional investors like freaking BlackRock are hyping Bitcoin at this point. So for normies to still be asking, saying that Bitcoin is a Ponzi and it's going to zero, or it's a tulip, or whatever. Like tulips go up and then they go down and they never come back up. But the Bitcoin chart just looks like this could be any stock. So I don't really know what people are talking about when they say these things. So, okay, so real quick update, the 5K account challenge. Happy to report that I'm back up to almost 4. It was up to 4 earlier. 4 from 3, which was at 3 from 4 from 5. So far turned 5K into 4K. Not an auspicious start, but not unexpected when I was buying mining companies at Bitcoin all-time highs. So, but this also indicates some of I mentioned the whipsaw before, and I would be up, probably to 4,500 if I didn't have these covered calls. So right now, Mara, I was able to only profit on Mara on this call to $16 a share, and this one $18 a share. Well, Mara is $19 a share. So I missed out on $300 here, $100 here. Riot is way out to May 31st, so I may roll this the next week. I will probably have to pay a couple $100 here. So missed out on $300, down to $250 here. And then HUT, it's actually almost perfect. Like HUT is $9.09 and my strike is $9. But this is out to May 31st. So if I roll this, if I just look at HUT for next Friday, it's probably like $30 or something. Yeah, $30 out the money. So even if I roll this down to $9.50 or $10, I have to pay $100 there. So yeah, so I would be almost back even, but that's not really the point of the strategy. And I think over time, it will start to uh, it will kind of start to pay dividends and take shape. So every week I'm selling covered calls and then I'm stacking shares of MicroStrategy. So on the next pump, on the next MicroStrategy pump, at that point I will see, okay, what can I buy 100 shares of? And then I will sell more covered calls. And then the goal will be to amass another 100 shares and then sell more covered calls, and another 100 shares and sell more covered calls. And eventually it'll reach a point where I'm buying 100 shares of something every week. And that's when the growth really kicks in. So this will be slow. This will, this might be one step forward, two steps back for a while, but eventually the exponential growth will kick in once I'm buying 100 shares a week with this. And that's a big if, but it's been working. It's been working for the last 4 years since I used the strategy. So this is fun still. It is annoying when the price crashes and then you get a nice bounce and you can't realize the full amount of the bounce because you have the covered calls on. But the covered calls is what generates the extra buying power. So in the long run, I think this will win out, but in the short, there's a little bit of short-term pain. And so this is kind of I guess it would probably be considered a high-frequency trade, even though it's only once a week. It's not day trading, but it's way more high frequency than just buy and hold. So eventually, just the trades every week, 52 times a year, those little profits will add up, and then hopefully I will capture enough of these pumps per week. Damn, this went up 50% in a week. It was 8, now it's 12. Okay. So yeah, so I probably only captured 10 or 20% of this move, and the other 30% went to the other guy, the guy on the other end of this trade. So the guy who bought this from me for $50 or something, $60, he's happy because now he's going to make $250. And that's fine, good for him. 5 out of 6 weeks he probably loses this trade, and then he has to make all of that money back when these pumps happen. So who knows if he's profitable all year. But I would rather be profitable 45 weeks a year and limited profit, a half dozen. All right, I've already talked probably longer than I meant to tonight, and can't wait for MicroStrategy earnings. No telling what'll happen. It'll either go up, down, or trade sideways. Other than that, I got no predictions. All right, be good, y'all.